Welcome to This Week in Habsland. I am Jordan and he is Brian. We are coming to you the morning after the Canadiens drop Game 2 of the East Final to the Carolina Hurricanes 3-2 in overtime. Brian, we haven't actually done an episode where the Habs have lost in a while. We elected to skip Game 6 against Buffalo for the very obvious reason. So it's been a while since we've been in this seat. What did you think of the game?
Not great. Really not great. I mean, look at the box score. If you didn't watch the game at home, which I'd be surprised if you were listening to us and you didn't watch the game. I think watch the game, then listen. That's always the best way to do it. You might think, oh, cool. Kept the Carolina Hurricanes to 26 shots. That's really well done, guys. And in a vacuum, that would be really well done. When you produce 12 shots yourself, hard to win a hockey game. And the whole game, I was sort of thinking, as they just could not produce offense. All I was thinking was, look at the goals that have gone in. At the time, the one goal that had gone in was Anderson going to the net. And the reluctance to do that last night was driving me a little bit crazy. Freddie Anderson is not a good goalie. At least he hasn't been thus far. Would you not agree? In this series against Ottawa,
no, he's been terrible.
And against Philadelphia, you can quote the whatever 950 save percentage all you want. That's great. Now that he's playing a team with some decent offense, who isn't just flabbergasted by Carolina's style and speed and everything, he has not looked good. So why are we being so selective on shots? I do not get it. I don't know why I'm bringing it to this place first, but that's the big flashing thing that I saw in this game was just like, couldn't transition very well. So the reluctance to dump and chase as well, I didn't love. Like, just what is with the lack of simple hockey on the road? That's what's been winning the Canadiens' road games. Simple hockey, dump and chase. When you're not sure what to do with the puck, don't just flub it to the opposition. I don't know. I was pretty livid about that last night. Just a very inconsistent young team doing what young inconsistent teams do, which is not playing the way that they've played when they've won. It's like the slate gets wiped and they have to refine their game after every victory.
Okay, so let's drill in on this because we will need to have a conversation about the power play. We'll need to have a conversation about the defensive pairs. But I think the right place to start is this. The story of the game was Carolina's defense. Offensively, for Carolina, they basically had the same production as game 1. If anything, they were a little bit less productive, ultimately. Yeah. So I thought the Canadiens, despite the issues that people will have, and Mike Matheson had a very poor game. He had one really great slide on a penalty kill where he knocked the puck out and then immediately got up and cleared it hard off the boards. That's the only notable defensive play I can remember Mike Matheson making, so I want to make that point before we get to him later on. However, the real story was how good Carolina was defensively. The first thing you notice is that they were being way more selective with their defensemen jumping up into the play. Anytime a rush chance was about to start and the camera started to pan over as it moves from the Habs defensive zone over to the neutral zone, there's always 2 Carolina players. Hardly would you ever say, like, oh, cool, Habs can get a 2-on-1 rush here, 3-on-1 rush here. That was dead. So Carolina very much adjusted, and I think it affected their offense a little bit. Like, they were way less prone, and I don't know Carolina that well, but they were way less prone to shoot immediately off the rush. They prefer a cycle anyway, but they were doing it almost exclusively. They weren't even trying, as the Habs are the opposite. The Habs off a rush, that's their best chance of taking a shot. Carolina seemed to really prefer, let's just cycle it in so that this way we have our 2 defensemen up at the points. And that gives us less of a chance of being out of position. So they were very disciplined and very structured. Yep. And it killed basically any chance the Canadiens had of doing something off the rush. So that was one. Now, for the Canadiens, they need to play more direct. You're right. It's not like, and this is a team who, look, the 9 shots versus Tampa will continue to come up for who knows how long. But for those of us that have watched this team, not only this year, but for the last few years, they are very selective with when they shoot the puck. They just are. And sometimes that means whether you're looking at shot attempts or shots on goal or expected goals, it'll sometimes, I find, be a bit misleading with how much this team actually has the puck and how much possession this team actually has. Because sometimes, there'll be 45 seconds where they'll have possession, but they are very selective with waiting, and especially the skill guys, until they get the perfect opportunity for themselves. And we can see that as translated because they have such a high shooting percentage compared to the rest of the league. Sure. However, you mentioned, like, what are the goals? It's just Anderson in
That's
front.
it.
The first is a beautiful, like, shot that goes top corner. And the other one, it's just like him, Carey, and Deneau are just in front of the net, hoping to find the puck and eventually smack it home. The top guys will need, and this is chess. We saw finally a team do a counter move. We didn't see Buffalo do
That's
that
true.
because Buffalo was so skilled and so good at what they do. We didn't really see Buffalo counter move other than just say, we're going to play our game harder, which, hey, it almost worked. Carolina made some adjustments here, and now it's up to the Canadiens to decide how do they adjust. Certainly they need to be more direct. They need to get more shots on goal. Like, I know I just said the thing about, like, hey, they're just very patient with it. Okay, but eventually you do need to shoot the puck on the net, especially with Freddie Anderson clearly still not going.
Yeah.
Like, 2 goals on 12 shots. He conceded 5 goals on Thursday night. So, and also even and then there were still saves he was making when it was 2-1, where he was always looking behind him.
Yeah, he looked
making
so
sure it
sloppy.
didn't squeeze through.
I don't like, did the Montreal Canadiens play a game that I'm unaware of between the Buffalo series and this one where they faced Vasilevsky again? Did he or did Prime Carey Price return? And like, who do you think is in their net, guys? This is a weak goaltender. Shoot the puck.
Having said that, I will say, like, Carolina was very good at blocking shots.
Really good.
I gotta pull up exactly how. But they were like, there was a lot of times where the Canadiens would get a half decent shot and
that's
blocked,
nothing new, right?
Blocked.
Like, the Canadiens have been getting their shots blocked quite a bit in these playoffs.
Sure, I thought they had 20 block shots yesterday. Carolina, Habs had 19. So I don't know where that is in terms of their season average or even playoff average, but Carolina was very effective at doing that yesterday. Look, ultimately, like I said, for me, the story was about how Carolina defended, and it shouldn't be surprising. Like, first of all, and this was a point that Brian Wild made on Blue Sky, if this was just a game in January, we would have all maybe not turned, you and I probably wouldn't have turned it off, but it would have been maybe a little bit less intense viewing because it was a bit of a snoozer.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. But that was the point of what Carolina was doing. They elected to just slow down the Habs. And now we'll see what the Habs do in counter to that in game 3.
I'm hoping they bring some energy and take a lesson from the one guy who was productive, the best player on the Montreal Canadiens ice, and that was Josh Anderson. A hell of a game. They said something on the broadcast that astounded me, and then I thought about it for about 4 seconds. I was like, yeah, that's not astounding at all, actually. That's Josh Anderson. His last 11 goals, every single one of them has been to tie a game or to take the lead in a game. And that's postseason goals. I'm not talking regular season. Postseason goals, his last, at the time it was 10 after his first goal. And then the second one tied it at 2. So 11 goals in a row in the postseason to tie or to take the lead. Josh Anderson, clutch hockey player. I hope the Montreal Canadiens in general can rally behind him and find some clutchness themselves. Do you want to tackle the awful transition play of overtime?
Sure, yeah, let's do that because that encapsulates a couple issues and discussion points, I think, going into game 3. So I think is it Zach Bolduc has a bit of a wishy-washy pass to Oliver Kapanen, although still gets the Kapanen stick.
It was a hard pass that Kapanen that went a little ahead of him, hit the boards, and then Kapanen had the puck prior to the pressure of who would it have been in the defensive zone? Chatfield. Right. Chatfield gets the puck and kind of baits Kapanen to dump in by moving back, and then just stands there pat. I don't fault Bocek that much because I still think as an NHL player, if you get to the puck first by half a second, you should be able to at least ring that around the boards or do something simple. And Kapanen did not elect to do that. Now, I said the transition play. I didn't say, do you want to talk about Kapanen's play in itself? Because that was not the first. There were 3 such plays in a row where the Canadiens could not transition into the offensive zone. 3 times in a row, They screwed it up. They were weak on the puck. They miffed a pass. They miffed a dump in. And you give Carolina that many chances, they're going to score, especially when the speediest guy on their team and one of the most skilled shooters, Nikolai Ehlers, is on the ice. Like, just a very weak play by Kapanen. It would not astound me if Veleno came in and he went out not for just that play, but because he's also been relatively invisible. That line in general had a bad night. Something needs to change there. And I know changing things based on a single performance, like, I don't know that that's the way Marty does things, but this was really emblematic, I think, of what will keep occurring because Carolina was on their game. And I think as long as Carolina's on their game, like game one was the anomaly. As long as they're on their game, they're going to take advantage of that fourth line. So I would love to see it change. But anyway, let's get back to the transition stuff, Kapanen's play.
Right.
Is that just youth and inexperience showing through, or is something actually kind of wrong there?
So let me zoom out, go team perspective first. We've definitely seen the adjustment. They are not reverse cycling almost at all in this series. It's weird because it feels like it's more a strategic adjustment to Carolina, not necessarily lessons learned from Tampa and Buffalo because of how clean of a divide it is. You saw it happen in spurts in the other two series, whereas this one it's very much, and I actually kind of like it. Like we trust our forwards to win a loose puck in a neutral zone and use that speed to just zoom into the offensive zone. I don't mind that as a strategy. And it's not like so much of Buffalo's offense specifically was built off of just creating turnovers behind the net. So I'm actually okay with that slight adjustment. But again, what we're learning, and this is like something that's going to be very teachable over time, is the Canadiens are just not strong enough exiting the zone. And like Jake Evans had some baffling choices at the defensive blue line, trying to get the puck out, being a little too cute. Slav, not necessarily, but generally over the last couple of weeks, he's been doing that a lot. And then, okay, so you're slowly figuring out how to deal with it in the defensive zone. Now in the neutral zone, like there's no excuse there for Kapanen to not just hit it hard. Like you're not icing it. Hit it as hard as you can off the side. You are the fourth line in an overtime game. Dump it and make sure, or just bring it in. And like you see a couple guys, there was, I'll forget who, it was Kirby Dach. Kirby Dach probably in the second period, which again, the long change, the Canadiens continue to struggle. There's a moment towards the end of a shift where it's that line again, trying to get the puck out, and Kirby Dach recognizes it and he doesn't dump it in. He just forces his way in and puts enough pressure on it and doesn't necessarily taper off. He keeps the forecheck going to make sure everybody can get off the ice. You need to ensure that you can get the full zone clearance into the other zone. You can concede possession. Who cares? You're the fourth line. Just get off the ice. So you're right. Like Marty does not make one play decisions, but Oliver Kapanen's been back for 3 games and I can't say I've noticed them at all.
Yeah.
So there is a good argument to be made for his removal, but we're going to pause because there's another part of that goal. Mike Matheson's, again, this is the issue of not being able to clear. Matheson's trying to go off for a change and turnover happens and he immediately tries to, recover as best he can. The issue is Noah Dobson, who doesn't move over to the left side at all. He plays it like a 2-on-1 and not that his defensive pair partner is right next to him, who's covered the pass more or less. So like you have to flag that too. As much as like it was an issue not fully clearing the puck into the offensive zone, it's also on Noah Dobson for not just like diving all over Nikolai Ehlers there to help Jakob Dobson. So that's also a huge issue with what happened. And Noah Dobson, he's been coming around and we can get to the defensive pairings, but that was a huge like screw up, truthfully.
No question. I will always jump on the thing that causes the turnover first, but you're absolutely right to say that Dobson should have just gone right to Ehlers, stuck to him like glue. The way Ehlers was playing, like phenomenal game for Nikolai Ehlers. And I know that we have this kind of rule of like in the postseason, we try not to say how much we like opposing players. Ehlers to me is the one and only exception. If you'll recall the Winnipeg series in 2021 when Scheifele crushed Evans in the most despicable way I've ever seen, who was the guy who was holding back the crowd, fighting, trying to protect Jake Evans? It was class act Nikolai Ehlers. So congrats on a phenomenal game, dude. I will never get down on you for beating the Canadiens because you absolutely are a class act. And I think in general, he's exactly what the Hurricanes have needed. He's the reason why they finally won a home conference final playoff game since 2009. They hadn't won one, Jordan. I think they were, even forgetting the home and away stuff, they were 1-16 or 1-17 coming into this game. Horrendous. And we've been saying for years, they're boring hockey and they need a skilled shooter with speed who can actually transition and do things himself. And Nikolai Ehlers seems to be that dude. At least he was last night. On the Dobson thing, in general, I thought Dobson played okay. Nothing phenomenal. He was just fine. But you're right. That play, he should have been on his man. He should have been on his man. He should have recognized that Matheson changed his mind and came back. Because like Matheson got right back into the play really fast.
Yeah.
And maybe there's an argument for like Dobson is just so laser focused on Ehlers trying to see the microsecond when he does something. But I don't know. I think through your peripheral, you see Matheson there. Anyway, I don't know that I want to harp on him too much more than that. I think the giveaways, I should say, were the prime reason that the Canadiens lost in overtime. The Canes came out sharp in OT. They came out sharp to start the game. They came out sharp basically every period, and the Canadiens did not look as sharp as they did in game one, and which you and I predicted, basically everyone predicted, we're going to see the actual Carolina Hurricanes in game two, and I thought the Canadiens would be ready for them. I was really excited to see the Habs play like they did in game one. And lost in all this is the fact that the Habs almost got away with one again. And that question keeps creeping into my head. And we don't necessarily have to have this debate or conversation now. Maybe it's best suited when the dust settles and all this is over, whether we win or lose. But I think it does beg the question of readiness, of how prepared this team actually is to compete in these big games when they're not in survival mode yet. So, because going up 2-0 in a series, forcing Carolina to have to win 4 of 5, it would have been so sweet. And they almost got away with one again.
Look, overall, this team will have played now, well, they're guaranteed at least 3 more. So I think it's like 23 or 24 playoff games guaranteed over this year and last year. It's 4 playoff series, again, guaranteed. Maybe there's a 5th one waiting for us in a week or 2. But, you know, they're still learning. They've not gone up 2 games in the series at all. So when another team goes to that desperation mode, the Canadiens have not been able to match it. I think this one's a little bit different than, say, Tampa down 3-2 or Buffalo down 2-1. Like we saw, or even Buffalo down 3-2 for that instance. That's probably the best example. Yeah, you're right. We've talked about it, right? There's 2 elements this team is not fully developed in these playoffs, despite all these opportunities. It's the killer instinct, and it's retaining a lead in a close game. They've only done the latter part twice, and they have not had the killer instinct at all. It hasn't come through yet. There'll be opportunities, hopefully, in the next week to do so. Okay, let's do the defensive pairings. I was one of the guys saying over the past week or 2, I think it's time for Matheson Dobson. I was done with Matheson Carrier. And Matheson Dobson has been bad. It has been very bad. So this is per Money Puck in game 2. Matheson Dobson had a 9.9% expected goal percentage. Not a mistake. Sub 10%. Now, because of the usage of Jaden Struble, which we can still talk about, and the fact that the Habs were chasing in the third period, we saw a lot of Hudson Dobson. And that's 12.5 minutes of Matheson Dobson, 7.5 minutes of Hudson Dobson. So good representative sample. Hudson Dobson, 54%. So 10% to 54%. Mike Matheson has been, we're getting a lot of the trick or treat stuff with him again, which is unfortunate. And I don't think it's a mistake when you look at the ice time at 5-on-5 in this game. And part of it is because, yes, the Habs were chasing. Matheson was 5th among defensemen on the Canadiens in 5-on-5 ice time. He's behind. Noah Dobson is 1st. Lane Hudson is 2nd. That's mostly a byproduct of Hudson getting jammed by Taylor Hall, which, by the way, as far as we know, no updates. No one asked St. Louis about it at the post-game press conference, which I thought was super weird. But hopefully all is good there with Lane. And then you have Goulet and Carrier hovering around 18 minutes and Matheson around 16. Matheson's been struggling, and Goulet Carrier, on the other hand, has been quite good. So as we look forward to game 3, Brian, Jaden Struble. So let me focus on the important part here. And I've said my piece about this in the past. When Lane Hudson plays on the right side, he is a really, really good hockey player and probably the team's best or second best defenseman. When Lane Hudson plays on the left side, he might be one of the 10 best players in the world. Yep. So, and when they rejiggered everything with Struble coming back in, it meant that he was going to be thrown to the right side again. And after seeing Lane Hudson probably co-MVP with Alex Newhook, I mean, Newhook has the series winning overtime goal, so maybe you just give that to Newhook. But ultimately, he's been over the course of the 16 games, their best player. But when you put him on the right side, we've seen this for the last 2 years, you do neuter him a bit. He becomes good. He's pretty good. And I don't think it's an accident that in these 2 games, he hasn't picked up a point. So with that said, what would you do with the defensive pairing? Again, I don't think this was totally the issue with the team. It was more the directness in the offensive zone that was a struggle. And we already hit on that. The other thing that you want to touch on, look, number 6 defenseman's coming back around to be the pain in the ass it's been all season. When you get to a conference finals, your weak links really get exposed. The other is the 12th forward. But on the defensive pairs, Brian, what would you do? Like, do you think anything needs to change to going forward? And maybe part of it is unlocking Hudson helps the offense. So it's not just purely talking about the defensive ends. But yeah, what would you do?
So yeah, I don't think it's an accident either. I think you're right to bring this up. The lack of shot taking in part is, look at the Colorado Avalanche, man. They're down 2-0 in a series without Makar, because Makar not only is a tremendous player, but he allows everybody around him to be better offensively, obviously. So like, we're seeing the same stuff with Lane Hudson to a lesser effect, obviously, because at least he's in the lineup, but he's on the wrong side. So I think a priority absolutely is Hudson back to the left. And then I liked him with Goulet a lot. And Goulet, I think from the right side is fine. I don't think Goulet suffers as much. Look, the closing of gaps and the getting pucks as you're skating backwards off of the right boards is hard. Those things are hard for a left-hand shot guy, sure. I think Goulet's better at doing those things than Hudson is at all the stuff that he does so well from the left when he's moved to the right. I would not mind seeing those 2 dudes back together. What that leaves for the last 4, though, is not fun, because Hudson and Goulet, to me, are the 2 guys who you can kind of be like, oh yeah, he could play with him. That's no problem. They're your almost saviors of, oh shoot, I have Jaden Struble on my third pair. I'll throw Goulet with him. He'll protect him. So, because Struble and Dobson, I don't know that works. How much of that have we even seen? I can't recall. Which leaves Matheson Carrier, which I know we've said we don't love, but they're 2 very defensive-minded people. The other possibility is just go back Hudson Dobson. Put all your firepower in one place. I don't know if I love that either. It's becoming more and more clear that this just isn't the decor of the long-term Canadiens, and that Marty's kind of struggling at the moment to find the right way to do it. Do you have a better solution than either of those suggestions? I know I didn't give one concrete one because I kind of think it's a gray area. Like, I just don't know that the one exists.
So Struble and Dobson played 41 minutes together in the regular season.
That sounds right.
At a 51% expected goal percentage. It's 41 minutes over 24 games, which meant
it was just when one guy was in the
very
box or something weird.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
It's one of those. It wasn't by intention. It was, here, let me just quickly look it up. It was, wow, I would have to.
Actually, that's that. You know what that definitely is? That's Struble staying on the ice too long and Dobson coming to bail his ass out.
It was the 17th most used defensive pair. So probably not a great idea to have that thrown out in the biggest games of the season. Right. So look, we're slowly circling the idea of it, but I'll get us towards it.
Hey man, I've said it before. Where's Reinbacher?
Yeah, it's just not there
for
yet.
Sure. And this isn't a statement on him specifically. It's just like he's so perfect. Just his play style, it's so perfect. It's exactly what they need. Right hand shot guy, closes gaps really well, defends really well. He's mean as shit. Anyway, excited for that. That's my little 20-second tangent that I keep doing on like where's David Reinbacher.
Here, I'll just say the ridiculous stuff first. Reinbacher, Beck, Florian Jacki are all 3 guys I thought about after game 2 ended. Because, and this goes for like the 4th line role, like Bolduc and Kapanen Bolduc and Kirby Dach have been so good these playoffs, but they have died when they haven't had a good center around them.
Yeah.
And I don't know if like, it would be weird to throw Owen back to the Wolves in a game 3 or Florian Jacki and put Dach back to center. Although I don't know, maybe that works. I don't think they'll do that because of how like out to left field that is. But if it's come to my mind, I'm sure it's come to the mind of the coaching staff, those guys. However, and then same goes for Reinbacher, right? Like I feel like Reinbacher could jump in, but those guys at this point haven't played for like 3 weeks. They've been the Black Aces just following them around. Okay, that's the ridiculous stuff here. This is what I would think would make the most sense. Goulet Carrier has been working. I don't mess that up.
Okay.
It's been fine. Lane Hudson and Noah Dobson has largely worked throughout the course of the season. and they played 300 minutes together, 59% expected goal percentage in the regular season. So that's a good amount of time. Goulet Carrier played 174 minutes, a 57% expected goal percentage. Both of those worked in game 2, and Goulet Carrier worked in game 1. And I'm sure if I looked up the numbers from Dobson and Hudson, it also worked in game 1. This also allows you to get Lane Hudson on the left side. It keeps Caden Goulet on the left side. Caden Goulet has been really good in this series.
Yeah.
And like what we talk all the time about, hey, this guy could play on the right, and like, sure, yeah, like these guys can do it, but I guarantee you they are better when they play on their proper side. So that leads us, of course, if everyone's doing the math at home, what the third pairing is. And I think it's the best version of it is Matheson Jackeye.
As opposed to Matheson Struble.
At this stage. Yeah.
I'll tell you, I would have loved to have Jackeye out on the ice when Taylor Hall pulled his bullshit, which we are going to get into. I don't care if you don't want to talk about it. I want to rip on Taylor Hall a little bit after, but we'll get to that. I
Sure.
don't know that I like Matheson Jackeye or Matheson Struble, to be honest with you, but that's been the odyssey, is who the hell do you put with those guys?
Again, if you're not, you can't fix the number 6 defenseman right now. I think one of those two guys has to be gone in the offseason. You have to make room for Reinbacher or Engstrom.
Yeah, make a call
for sure.
finally.
If not both of those guys. But just as importantly, it's recognize that Mike Matheson, he's great. I want him on the team for a long time. He signed that extension. I don't think he's 25 minutes a night, man.
No, he's not. He's absolutely not.
Bring him down to 18. I think we talked about this probably either end of last year, early this year, or maybe right when the Dobson trade happened.
I think we talked about it every year. Bring his ice time down and he's better.
He'd be so much better at 18 minutes a night in less prime matchups. Now, again, St. Louis has his guys, but like recognize how good Caden Goulet is playing right now. That Caden Goulet has likely been your second best defenseman in these playoffs.
Has been.
Is that outlandish?
Not even slightly. Who else would it be? It's not Dobson. It's not Carrier.
Yeah, trick or treat for Carrier. But again, like, when was Carrier not great? It was when he was with Mike Matheson. When has Carrier been much better? He's more recently with Caden Goulet, but Carrier's also had moments where he was playing really good. Matheson was great in the first half of the Tampa series, and it's been a slow degradation since. But so I think it's partially that. Like, the number 6 defenseman, they're not going to solve right now, but we know this has to be figured out. This was part of the reason, like, go back to the trade deadline. I know it was like, we don't want to put too many chips in. Your weak link is showing in your number 6 defenseman, but more importantly, I think it's about reassessing Mike Matheson, and maybe the ice time that we brought up earlier is a bit of a sign of things to come. But so that's where I would lean. I don't know. Okay. I feel like Jackeye is going to come in. I don't know how that will affect things, but there's a chance that we see Matheson Jackeye as a pair. I don't think it's out of the question, but who knows? Okay, 2 things that I want to go over. The forwards. Let's do the forward stuff first. With you mentioned Kapanen. Are we seeing Brendan Gallagher? Is it time? We got to bring him back? Is that you think?
I love that idea purely from a go to the net and actually do something standpoint. In every other way, I don't like it. In every other way, I think it's potentially a mistake. Caroline is really good at doing to the Canadiens what has been kind of happening this whole playoff run, which is getting hemmed in your own zone for 2 to 3 minutes. Caroline is real good at noticing, these are tired guys. We could just do what we do, funnel pucks back to the point, take a shot if we can, be first on pucks. That's the other thing they did last night really well, is their funnel game. It didn't work as well. I mean, 26 shots is nothing for the Carolina Hurricanes, but every time they did it, who was first on the puck? A guy in a black jersey, almost every single time. Yep. So Gallagher will not help that. He will exacerbate that problem with his lack of foot speed. Veleno's foot speed, I think, could help, but there's a lack of offense there. So I think you have to deem what's more important at this moment is getting offense from a guy like Brendan Gallagher on your 4th line better for the team, or is getting a guy who's not going to burn you defensively as much in Veleno, who actually has foot speed, a good idea. I think it's Veleno with a bullet, because there's other avenues to offense on this team. You don't necessarily need, and I know maybe I'm talking out of my ass, because like, the reason they're in the conference finals at all is because they've been getting scoring from everyone. But like, the first line has to get going. The second line has to get going. Demidov, the guy who had unbelievable performances last night, was fine. He was good. He made one brilliant defensive play at one point. That's the play I'm remembering. If I don't remember an offensive play from Demidov, that's not a great sign. Maybe that's my poor memory, but I don't remember him being fantastic. Anyway, offensively, the top guys have to be much better. Hudson going back to the left will help that too. So I think the priority for the fourth line is just get guys who are not namby-pamby on the puck. Get guys who are strong on the puck, who will dump in, who will be first on the puck, who will win battles. To me, that's Joe Veleno. Of the three of them, that's Joe Veleno.
Yeah.
What do you think of the Gallagher thing? Because I've seen that, and look, I'm one of his biggest defenders, and I've seen it all over the place of like, bring Gally in now. We need shots on goal. We need more fire alarms. Okay, it comes with some baggage.
Okay, so the one thing is, we don't know if Veleno is healthy. Got nicked up in Game 6 against Buffalo. It gets pulled. It gets removed for Game 7 now. Whether that is strategic or whether that is partial injury or a mixture of the two, we don't know. Having said that, again, this is why I was like, what about Florian Xhekaj? It's stupid. It's never going to happen because this guy hasn't played on the team since like November. Or same goes for Owen Beck. Owen Beck was great for the Rocket in the playoff in their series against the Marlies, but again, you're bringing a guy in too ice cold at this point. Anyways, there's a reason because like I don't love any of the other options. I think ultimately it is Gallagher because he will at least sit his ass in front of the net and tell everybody we're supposed to be doing this. He's going to play 7 minutes. They're going to barely use him in the second period. They don't want to get caught in the long change with him. He'll never start a shift from a face-off. It'll all be on the fly. They're absolutely going to rotate in Suzuki and Evans and Deneau so you can get Doc and Bolduc a little bit more into the game because that's been missing right now is those guys can't get into the game as much. Like certainly Veleno has been more effective in being a conduit for Doc and Bolduc than Kapanen has. That's
absolutely.
Just, I still don't love Joe Veleno because feet for hands, and we already have that with Jake Evans.
Yeah.
Like you can't keep having, look, Phil Deneau has scored 2 times in the last 3 games. So something like that, right? He's finally got on the board a couple times. There's only so many guys that don't have finishing, and Joe Veleno is probably the most egregious of all of them. Who knows what they'll end up doing? I have a hunch it's going to be Gallagher.
Okay, and
you'll throw Doc at center, and Gally will play 6 minutes, and those other guys will play 10 to 12, and it just means more Suzuki, more Evans, more Deneau, which I think is fine. And also, you do have the ability, if you want, and you trust them, throw a Kirby Doc as a center for a shift, not like on the fly, like do it not necessarily from a face-off start,
right? And
then you just throw Slavkovsky out for a shift with them, or throw Demidov out there. It doesn't have to just be the centers double shifting.
Yeah.
Because you do have the fail safe that just in case you do have an icing, Doc can take draws. He's not great at them, but that's an option you can do. So that's, I think, where I would lean. You bring your biggest and your best, your most veteran leader back into the fray for a home game in Game 3. And it's really more about Gallagher having like 3 shifts in the first period where he is right in front of the net and someone throws him to the ground.
Yeah. Set the tone.
That's going to be Gallagher's role. So that because they missed the directness. Who was the most direct player on this team when he was in his prime? It's Brendan Gallagher. Follow him. Follow your leader. So that's where I kind of lean. I don't love it, but I think that's where it should kind of go.
Hey, fair, man. Fair. In the absence of a perfect option, you have to go with the lesser of several evils. And so I also think that that's the exact reason why, I mean, you called yourself stupid for even bringing up Florian Xhekaj or Owen Beck. I don't think that's stupid at all. I think if they're not even, if like Team Hugo and Marty St. Louis have to have that conversation. That's their job, is to look at every single possible option. So I don't think that's stupid at all. I agree with you that I don't think it likely. But to have not even had this the conversation would astound me, because Owen Beck is energetic as hell. He's fairly direct. I don't know that he would be in a Game 3, having not played any of the playoffs yet. Florian Xhekaj, I do not question. Like Florian Xhekaj is like bigger Gallagher who can battle and fight and stuff, and still has decent foot speed. The problem with him would be just the complete lack of experience and defensive acumen, and that could burn you. So he might end up playing less minutes than Gally even. Out of fear. So I agree. It's not very likely. Can we do the Taylor Hall is a jackass stuff? Is that cool with you? Or do you have one thing first?
Yeah, we'll do that next. We'll do that, and then we'll wrap with the power play, and then we can wish everybody good luck.
What's the opposite of power?
Well, let's go Taylor Hall first.
Okay, yeah, we'll think about that, what to call the power play, because it's been poo-poo. Okay, so Taylor Hall, buddy.
Yeah.
Jake Sanderson.
Mm-hmm.
Travis Sanheim. Lane
Yep.
Hutson. What do these three guys have in common? The most important defenseman on their team?
Yep.
They have another thing in common, Jordan. Taylor Hall took a run at them. In Hudson's case, it was overtime. So at least he waited till game 2 overtime. Ugly knee on Hudson, and Hudson is absolutely livid. And usually when a player is that livid, there's something wrong. I'm praying that's not the case. We have not heard anything. I can see you furiously clicking, so you're probably checking to see if in the little while we've been recording this morning, they've released anything. The check on Jake Sanderson, the really high hit knocks his helmet off, leads with the shoulder, ugly as hell. Nothing comes of it. The hard hit from behind on Sanheim in the Philadelphia series after that. Like, what is with Taylor Hall running, guys? Maybe I missed it, but I didn't think that this was a part of his game looking back on his whole career. Like he seemed like a guy who was just going to be this journeyman who had a lot of skill and it never panned out perfectly, but he was going to help his team. And now he's just become an asshole.
Yeah.
And there's not going to be consequences because why would there be? There haven't been thus far.
No, not at all. Taylor Hall is like that guy you work with who does like an online training course for a week and then comes back and he's like, oh, I learned so much. I'm a different guy. I'm going to apply all these new techniques, except he went to like a 2-week online course of how the Florida Panthers play in the postseason. And now he's just applying all of that. I don't know, like we'll be viewed as homers to say he was targeting the knee, but it doesn't mean the knee didn't hit the other knee and that Hudson fell down immediately and was furious with it.
Dude, I've just given 2 other examples. What are the sheer odds of him of these not being 3 separate targets? You're right to bring up the Florida Panthers, who knocked out the Carolina Hurricanes and made them look like just whiny little babies. It would not astound me if this wasn't even just a Taylor Hall thing, that this was coming from the top down. And I know what a statement that is, but I can't find any other explanation. Like the sheer odds of going after the top guy 3 times by accident is just crazy to me.
And the annoying thing is this has been a very soft series. So like we went from Tampa and Buffalo, who were we've talked about the Atlantic was a bloodbath. Those were like real teams that were mean and would punch you quite literally after the whistle, during play, everything. Right. But there was an understanding that it was a 2-way street, that we could give it if we could take it. Whereas I fear, and you saw it a little bit with, I forget who it was who goes after Hudson in the first period that leads to the Struble penalty. But one of the Carolina players goes after Lane Hudson a bit. Struble's like, we're not doing that.
I think
it just yanks him down.
I think it was Svechnikov.
What? Okay, that makes sense. And
by the way, sorry to jump in, but I have to say this. Struble, you take that penalty 10 times out of 10. I do not mind that shit at all. Grab him by the neck, throw him to the ice. You don't pull that shit. Protect your guys. I'm fine with it.
The issue was the Canadiens are used to that not being a whistle because of the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. And Carolina are a soft team. And whether that you can view that as an insult or not, that's just the way that they play. It's who they are. They're not trying to be something they're not. But it means if the Canadiens try to retaliate against Taylor Hall, they're taking penalties in game 3 and we can go to the power plays. Like the Habs power play has been terrible. The Canes power play has been fine. Like they haven't scored yet, so at least there's that. But this has not been a series where there's been a lot of power play opportunities. I think Carolina's had 5, and the Canadiens have had 4, something along those lines. Like it's been very minimal.
Yeah,
but that's my only issue. Of like we know the Canadiens can be tough. We know if Jack Eye's coming back. We know Anderson's there. We know Bolduc is tough. Like Texier takes this really stupid penalty at the end of the second where he spears Keandre Miller. Like that's a penalty even in the Tampa and Buffalo series. But I'm just a bit worried, like Carolina, you can't get away with a dirty hit on a star player and then be soft.
Yeah.
The other 63 minutes of the game. Like that's truly where it bugged me. Fingers crossed on Lane Hudson being okay. Nothing as far as we have where it's 9:45 a.m. on the Sunday. We can stamp it. Like we don't know anything. And if he's out or like it, truthfully, it just I think it ends the series if Lane Hudson's out.
Yeah. Look,
it's over.
I'm not advocating violence, but if this was 30 years ago, if this was 80s, 90s, anything like that, what would happen in game 3 would be Sebastian Aho would be taken out of the series. Tit for tat. Now, I'm not advocating for that, but there is an argument to if the refs are not going to do their f***ing jobs and the Department of Player Safety, those idiots aren't going to do their f***ing jobs, there is an argument to taking it into your own hands and going and crushing Sebastian Aho in the corner. Don't go for the head. Just make sure he has a little bit of trouble getting up. I just want them to make their lives miserable. You're going to be soft like that, we're going to bury you. That's what I want to see from the Canadiens in Game 3. How else are you going to win this series? And this is like, if Hudson is out, even more so. Because now you've lost your opportunity to win this series. How do the Canadiens beat the Carolina Hurricanes without Lane Hudson? I don't know that they can. So start hitting the shit out of guys.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, man. I like, it made me so mad to see that. And if it was the first one, you could I would not be saying any of this shit. You could absolutely make an argument for like, look, yeah, Taylor Hall should have brought his knee back in. He didn't react well, whatever garbage defense they always give guys who knee on knee. Whatever you want to say, fine. It's the third time. Sanheim, Sanderson, Hudson. It's egregious.
If this was March, you 100% know Jack-Eye would be in the next game to hit someone, to hurt someone. But again, because of how soft this Carolina team is, I don't see this doing anything other than benefiting the Hurricanes. And I know there's supposed to be a tit for tat thing in hockey that you're supposed to say, especially like in 2026, no, we'll take the next penalty. Don't worry, but we're still going to make you pay for what you just did. And then it's Game 3 of a conference final. You have to be very careful. Well, you cannot have a parade to the penalty box in the first period at a home game where the Canadiens have struggled so far. So this will be something you really have to watch. I don't know. Especially if like we're going to bring Jack-Eye into the game. Jack-Eye has a target on his back with the referees. We know this. He got it before he even played an NHL game. Jack-Eye had a target on his back. Jack-Eye breathes too closely to Nikolai Ehlers or to Sebastian Aho or to Seth Jarvis. He's taking a penalty.
Yeah.
So that's where I get worried. If this was a regular season, I would 100% agree with you. You settle the score, and it's sometimes you invite Taylor Hall to fight. Make Josh Anderson. You go up to him and say, "Let's do this." You have to pay for what you've done, right? Because they'll never fight Arbor. But
he wouldn't even fight Josh Anderson, dude. You could send Brendan Gallagher at him, and he'd baby away.
And send Bolduc. Like we can go to our fifth heaviest guy, and he'll still say no.
Yeah.
But the thing is, because of what we saw and the way Carolina's played these two games, they're not going to do that. They're not going to engage, and they're going to get power plays based on the way the series is called. And that's where my only worry is. Okay, let's do the power play quickly.
For the power play stuff, it's kind of in link, but very quick question. Does Dobesh have to reel it back in? I think he's tied for the most penalties taken by a goaltender in a playoff run. And it's Game 2 of the conference finals.
Yeah.
I asked the question because I think he does slightly. Because they are so soft that I think.
Yeah, that's it. You have to adjust to your opponent now.
Yeah.
And that's like.
Which I can't believe. How is this the conversation we're having, Jordan? That we have to now stop being a playoff team, play like it's October?
Yep.
This is pathetic. I'm going to quote Steve Dangle because it's the perfect way to describe it. This is not a league. Sorry.
I don't disagree.
Power plays.
Power play. Listen, the Canadiens have had 6 minutes and 7 seconds on the power play, and their expected goal percentage on the power play is 35.
That's higher than I thought. Because it's been all Carolina on counterplay.
For reference,
pathetic.
For reference, Carolina's expected goal percentage on the power play, 100%.
Wow.
No, they haven't scored either. This is the worst the power play has looked in a long time. And my issue is this goes with how direct the Habs are. I've always hated how Nick Suzuki enters the zone. I despise it. It's not the drop pass. I couldn't care about that. It's Nick Suzuki, and I've never totally understood the logic behind it. Once he gains the zone, he passes it within the first 5 feet to either Caulfield on the left, or maybe it's Hudson's on the other right. Usually he prefers Caulfield on the left. Demidov would be the guy on the right. And Carolina clearly scouted this, and they say, cool, we'll let you enter the zone. We're sticking a guy on you in those first 5 feet, even if we get a little out of position, because that's where the turnover can be created. I've never liked how Suzuki's entered the zone, and Carolina's just identified that, and the Canadiens have no zone time ever. This power play 2 has no chemistry. They haven't had chemistry all year, and that's fine. And not having the Dobson slap shot at full power really, really hurts them. But it's I don't know, man. Like, that's another thing. Who knows how many power play opportunities you're really going to get in this series. But
So you got to make the most of them.
Through 2 games, you've had 6 minutes of power play and you've had 1 shot attempt.
Brutal.
That's not going to cut it, man. Like, it's already hard enough for this team at 5-on-5.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to be watching for game 3. Do you do anything differently? Like, and what's interesting, because like you'll see that power play 2 typically will have Newhook and Doc kind of side by side entering the zone, and they can elect to switch sides. Whereas power play 1, it's just Suzuki coming from the draw pass. But those other guys, and even sometimes when it's Newhook, like they'll enter the zone with a bit more speed, and they will not elect to cycle the puck. They will just get their shot off, and then the Habs will lose possession because they're not set up properly, and that'll also clear the zone. There needs to be an in-between where you gain a bit more speed, you get into the zone, and then you settle it down. So that's a huge issue right now.
Absolutely it is. And what really good teams do on the power play, who are veteran teams who know each other really well, is they find the space immediately. Whoever is the puck carrier, doesn't matter who, whether it's Suzuki, Hudson, Slavkovsky, whoever gets into the zone. Usually it's Suzuki. I understand why he does the get into the zone, stop up, find a pass immediately. He's looking for the most possible amount of space, and he's looking to catch them off guard because they're all piled up right at the blue line. I do get it. I do think, though, that you're absolutely right. If he flips the puck 18 feet behind that first wall of Carolina people, it's a puck battle that Slavkovsky likely is winning. Yeah. Trust in your guys. I think the writing's on the wall for this style of entry. And if dump and chase is too simplistic, fair enough. Maybe that's the wrong way to go about it. But I think you do have to find space lower down than the initial first few feet within the blue line, because you're just begging for a turnover. Like, a turnover in their corner isn't half as damaging as a turnover on the blue line when all of your guys have forward momentum. Because what happens is the Carolina Hurricanes come back on a counterattack like they've done numerous times. They've had more shots on penalty kills than we've had on power plays. I don't have to check the stats. I remember more shots of theirs on odd man rushes. Thank God for Dobesh. Sometimes your best power play specialist is your goaltender. Oh wait, that's penalty killing. All right. Which, by the way, on Dobesh, just to take a tangent, as I love to do, what a blocker save. Yeah. Oh my God. Coming across the crease early in the third period. A 3-1 game is a way harder game to crawl back in than a 2-2 or a 2-1 game, I should say. So Dobesh, huge. He had a good game, I thought, overall. I think he was upset and wanting to watch that last goal, the overtime Ehlers goal, over and over again. But look, he came out far in his crease. He was aggressive like he always does. It was just a rip. It was a really good shot, low blocker, one of the hardest saves to make. So look, I don't fault Dobesh for that. I don't know if you want to touch on Dobesh or you have more on the power play. But I don't know. Do we want to do what we hope for game 3?
I think we've talked about it. I think there's likely going to be lineup changes. I think Gallagher's probably needs to come in. What I want to see is the defensive pairs shuffled a little bit. And I think what you want to see is the more directness offensively, and maybe bring Hudson back to the left. Not maybe, it will definitely help do that. Because that's look again, like, because broadly, I think defensively, the Canadiens have been fine. What, they gave up 26 shots in game 1 and 25 in game 2. Yes. Like, it's like, this is not a Carolina team offensively I've been scared of. And Dobesh, yes, he had a great save there in the third period. I don't think he's had to be Superman so far. And the guy on the other side has sucked. It's 1-1. You're going back home. This is a great position to be in. But, you know, it's time to counter move, Marty. It's time to make some adjustments. We, again, hardly saw many adjustments in the Buffalo series. We saw a truckload. Remember game 5 against Tampa, where all of a sudden Marty switched up all the lines. I don't think we're going to see that level of blending, but that's what I would like to see going forward. I need to see a bit more directness, and that's maybe where 7 minutes of Brendan Gallagher comes into play, right? You'll play him, and honestly, they might only play him like 2 shifts in the second period. It might be you play him in the first and you play him in the third, depending on how tight the game is. And then on the defensive end, I want to see Hudson on the left, and I want to keep Caden Gooley on the left. Yeah, these have been your 2 best guys. Play them, maximize their strength. Don't, I'll say, kneecap them. That's a Taylor Hall thing to do. But like, don't reduce their effectiveness by playing them on the opposite side. So that's what I want. Anything else that you'd want to see beyond what we've already talked about?
Well, the other thing I want to see, which we've talked about, is the toughness and the meanness and the volatility. I want to see the Habs get a little volatile and start to punish the Carolina Hurricanes. Look, Florida did it and it worked.
Absolutely.
I hate the Panthers, but that shit straight up works. So consider it at the very least.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, we'll wrap it up there. We went a little bit long, but this felt like the first real time we got some information on the series. We have game 1 and 2 in the books. So going back to the Bell Center now. The series is going long. Again, unless Hudson is out, I don't see this going less than 6 at this point. So everyone's got to buckle up. We're going to see a huge game on Monday night. Again, series tied 1-1 going home. So thus far, the Canadiens have been good at that, but every series is different.
And they've been very good after a loss. So let's hope that trend continues. Dobesh, I don't think, has lost the game after lost 2 games in a row since like March or something like that. So let's keep that going. They've been very good and very sharp after a loss. Survival mode. Yep.
You can follow us on social media at HabsLandPod. If you like what you hear, leave that 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, follow us on Spotify, all that good stuff. And until game 3, go Habs.